boys and girls, Miss Summerton here. When I last saw you, Bram was sinking below the water, and so was Mosey. Mosey's trunk was underwater. We're going to keep reading on. The next thing Bram knew, his arm was torn from Mosey's grasp. He felt himself being lifted up out of the water. There were men, bright lights, and the sound of a horn. Madoc's body was being raised out of the water by a huge chain. It was the last thing Bram saw before he slipped into unconsciousness. When Bram opened his eyes again, he found himself in a bed with a brown-skinned man in a turban looking over him. "Welcome, young sir," the man said. "My name is Sabu." "Where am I?" Bram wanted to know. "You are in the palace of His Majesty, Karim Senghor, the Maharaja of Venusori," Sabu told him. "His Majesty heard of your travels and asked that you be brought here." "Where is Mosey? Where is my elephant?" "You will see your elephant tomorrow, but for now you must rest." The next morning Bram was taken to an elephantarium, where, lying on her side on a thick bed of straw, was Mosey. Bram ran to her. "Mosey, Mosey, it's me!" The huge elephant stretched out her trunk toward the sound of his voice. Once she was reunited with Bram, the huge elephant's recovery was swift, and she was soon on her feet and following Bram and the Sabu around the elephantarium gardens. The Maharaja summoned Bram to his palace for lunch that afternoon. "My boy, I am intrigued by the relationship you have with your Madoc, and through such perils. But isn't it true that Madoc belongs to the American circus?" "I guess it is true," Bram admitted. "All I know is that we have to be together." The Maharaja was impressed with Bram's truthfulness and loyalty. "Until this matter is sorted out, you will be my guest for as long as you like." Bram and Mosey learned that the other elephants were being specially trained to work in the teak forests, handling the heavy trees. Madoc began to work with them and was soon stronger than ever. Then one day the Maharaja summoned Bram. "My boy, I have just received a distressing letter from a Mr. North, who claims to be the owner of the elephant you call Madoc. He says that he is coming to retrieve his stolen property. I'm afraid it is my duty to place you and Madoc under house arrest until the man arrives." His eyes began to twinkle. "However, I must also tell you that sometimes in the evenings my guards are prone to sleeping on duty." With this, the Maharaja took a gold ring from his finger and placed it onto Bram's hand. "You are my son in spirit. With the protection of this ring, all will welcome you and protect you wherever you go." Bram hugged the Maharaja and thanked him for all he had done for him and for Mosey. That very night, he and his elephant set off. For over a month, Bram and Madoc wandered through India, heading south toward the forest where the great teak trees grew. Finally, one morning, they reached the top of a ridge, and Bram looked down to see dozens of elephants hauling, stacking, and pulling teak logs out of the river. When Bram asked for work, the overseer said he already had an elephant, all the elephants he needed. "That's a fine big beast you have there, though," he admitted. "Maybe I could train her to do some of the heavy work." Bram showed him the ring that the Maharaja had given him and explained that both he and Madoc already knew how to work with teak. He begged for a chance to show what he and Mosey could do, and the overseer finally agreed. "Gather round," he called to his workers. "Let's watch them perform. It should be good entertainment, if nothing else." Madoc's superior size, along with the grace she had acquired from her years of circus performing, made her naturally adept at balancing, lifting, and pulling the heavy teak logs. And, of course, she obeyed all of Bram's commands to the letter. The mahouts all cheered when she completed the test, and the overseer admitted he had been wrong. "You're both hired." Life in the teak camp was all Bram had hoped it would be. The work was hard, but the elephants were treated well, and the mahouts were a friendly bunch. But one day Bram was awakened by the sound of gunshots. He came out of his bungalow to find the camp surrounded by ragged-looking men in military uniforms. "We have just been taken over. We're taking over your village in the name of the people of Pakistan," their leader said. Saddle 15 of your best elephants and load them up with food and ammunition. Tomorrow morning you will join our caravan and help us to attack the Indian army." They had no choice but to accompany the armed men. The guerrillas forced the elephants to carry their heavy loads for days and nights with little food and less rest along a steep trail through the mountains. They would surely have worked them all to death, but before they reached the next village, Indian fighter planes flew overhead, spraying the caravan with bullets. Madak was shot twice in the skull. She still managed to make it to the Indian army camp, though along with most of the other elephants and their mahouts. Luckily, Madak's wounds were not too serious, and she and Bram were able to rest in the army hospital for a while. Bram wasn't sure what they'd do now, where they'd go, but before he had time to think it over, he was in for another surprise. Well, boys and girls, we're going to stop there today, but I'm so glad I'm getting to read you the story. Again, one of my favorites, and I'll see you next time. Bye.